Hello and welcome back to the Draw Pod. It's me, your host, Elyse. In this episode, I'll be chatting while doing a painting of some images that I took from a trip to Key West earlier this year. If you're new here, this is a visual podcast where I draw something and chat with you as I go. You really don't have to watch the video to know what's going on, and if you prefer to listen to it on a podcast app, it's available everywhere. If you prefer to watch the YouTube video, though, check out my channel, which is always linked in the description of this podcast. Also, if you would like to see what the final image ended up looking like, check out my art Instagram, which is at Elyse_draws. So yeah, welcome back. Nice to be back here this week. So as I mentioned, today's episode will be about Key West. In the art I'm making today, I'm using some images that I took from a butterfly garden there, and then I also just kind of threw in a rooster because they're kind of all over the place in Key West. But I've been to Key West twice, most recently this January in January 2020, and I would love to return whenever I can. And also, I would just like to return to the Florida Keys in general and explore them as an adult, because the first time that I went was when I was a teenager and I didn't really have much, freedom to explore them, but I would really love to travel up and down the Keys and get to know them more. Anyway, it's one of my favorite places that I visited because of its tropical flora and fauna and its food and the buildings and its kind of weird artsy energy. But before getting into that, though, I'm going to share a brief life update, something new I learned, and share a little bit about the books that I've been reading. So as for a life update, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing with my career. What's new here? Some days things are going really well, but some days things are hard. I'm just kind of I'm coming to terms with the fact that I'm not applying to jobs anymore on like LinkedIn, and really just trying to focus my energy into my creative endeavors and building my YouTube and podcast and getting ready to start tutoring with my cousins and today one of the things I'm going to do is make like a company list and actually stick to researching companies and applying only to work with companies that I would like to work at. But other than that, I think the most important thing I can do is just kind of build my artwork and my illustrations and my talents on here through, making my YouTube videos and podcast and everything. So yeah, I talk about this pretty often, but I've just been, going through it a little bit lately and just trying to navigate this fun post-grad creative experience. But job hunting is just a process that only really drains my energy and often hurts my confidence. So it's been kind of hard for me to invest a lot of time into it, but we are pushing through and improving ourselves every day. But however, I wanted to say networking and calls do excite me and energize me. So I need to really focus on that for the next few months. That's kind of also a big part of what I think my strategy is going to look like now. I've just, I got to accept that this whole path of applying to stuff on LinkedIn, not for me. And because, I tried doing that a little bit and, I got a nice fun scam email and followed through to try and do an interview with them. I talk about that in my last episode. If you didn't listen to it, check it out. But anyway, that is the jumbled mess of my thoughts about my career path and job hunting strategy and stuff going on right now. So if you're looking for an update on that, there it is. But yes, another life update is that I'm just really enjoying making content for my YouTube channel. It's been really nice, really fun. I've grown a decent amount. I'm now at 221 subscribers when I'm recording this podcast, which when I started uploading consistency at the beginning of the pandemic and everything, in March I had about 100. So it's really cool to have grown 120 subscribers over, uploading really frequently. So I'm very proud of that. And another update is I have not had the best of luck with cooking lately, and I'm trying to turn that around and manifest good cooking and food in my future. So I'm just putting that out into the universe for you guys. Something new I learned. This is also a food-related discovery of mine. People cook food using their dishwasher? ? Yeah, I forget how I landed on this information, but if you do not believe me, look it up. There is a very strong community of people who are very passionate about cooking food in their dishwasher. You can cook salmon in your dishwasher. You can cook potatoes in your dishwasher. You can cook vegetables in there. It's weird. Look it up. But that is something new that I learned. Another thing new that I learned is to be careful when you're using garlic and making carbonara. It is not traditional, and I knew this. My mom and I knew this whenever we were cooking it. And it's fine. You can add garlic into whatever you want to, because garlic is amazing. But garlic is easily burnt and will alter the whole flavor of the recipe. We made carbonara. It turned out really good. However, that was just something new I learned. Be careful with garlic. And the last food-related thing of something new I learned is when using canned black beans, ensure that they are not super hard before using them in your recipe, because this week I did that and I'm still eating through a batch of really not good undercooked black beans, despite being cooked for like an hour and then being put in the fridge and then being refried and smushed up in an attempt to achieve softness, and they're still kind of hard. But I must say, I cannot recommend anymore the HEB organic low sodium black beans. So HEB, I would love it if you sponsored me in this podcast, but I have to say I have a critique of these specific black beans. They are not good. Anyway, a book update. I am currently halfway through the second book in the Alpha series, the young adult novels that I've been rereading from my childhood. I've been really enjoying reading them, and they are very strange, but I love them. So I'm halfway through that, and it is September 1st when I'm recording this podcast, so that means today I will be starting the next book in the Bliss Bean book club thing that I'm a part of. She's a YouTuber, has this book club. But this week, so the book I'm starting is called The Renaissance Soul, Life Design for People with Too Many Passions to Pick Just One. So I think this is very fitting for me, and I'm hoping that reading that this month kind of helps me figure out what the heck I'm doing and kind of helps me through this kind of weird moment I'm having thinking about what I even want to do. I also just finished Nudge as well. I actually did finish it. I've been reading it since the beginning of August. I really enjoyed the beginning and the end of the book, but the middle parts were sometimes hard to get through. But I did learn a lot from reading though, and I'm going to pull a lot of that information and apply it to kind of my design practice and how I designed things for other people to use. So it was really good, really interesting, and it's not a design book at all. There are just some good principles from it. So that book, Nudge, very good. I gave it about 4 stars on my Goodreads. If you want to add me on Goodreads, you should. It's just my name, Elyse Andrews. So do that. Okay, so now that we've gotten through all of my little segments and you've heard about my cooking issues and adventures over the past week, we made ice cream as well, and my mom's ice cream turned out good. It does have dairy in it. My ice cream did not turn out as good because I don't know if I just didn't use like full fat coconut milk, or the coconut milk was like not cold enough for the ice cream machine to work. But we got this ice cream machine and it just was not working for me. Anyway, so I'm thinking I might scrap that batch that I tried to make just in the freezer, like stirring it up. And I think I might just start over again and try chilling the coconut milk before I do it. Anyway, I said I was getting into the episode, so I will get into the episode now. This specific episode topic of this week, as I mentioned, I kind of choose a topic and talk about it with a bit of an artsy spin on it as well. But this painting itself, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's the first time I've done watercolor in probably about 4 months, because the last time I did watercolor, it was for my senior show work that I completed before May. So yeah, it's been a hot minute. I need to get back into practicing it, but I really enjoyed this. And how it looks like right now, like on the screen, I don't know what stage of the painting I'm in, but it ends up looking pretty different from the final product in this episode. So if you want to see, again, the final version, it's on my Instagram, but I just think it looks very beautiful. But anyway, so Key West, my trips that I've taken 2 to Key West and I've taken 1 to Key Largo. But my trips to Key West, one was my sophomore year of high school, and that was definitely more of like a touristy experience that I had, and I didn't have control over what I wanted to do because I was a 16-year-old gal. But while I was there, I gathered a lot of material for making art. By that, I just mean like taking pictures. I was really interested in all of the plants and the palms and especially also the beach houses and some of the cool cars that are there, some of the older cars. I'm not much of a car gal, but I do really love how beautiful a lot of cars are from like the, I guess, 50s and 60s. They're just very colorful and fun. But what I'm getting to at this is that from this trip, we got the Key West bug painting, which was a painting that I did my sophomore year of high school. And for some reason, it is like one of my favorite things I've painted. I mean, not like in my whole life, but I mean, I'm very proud of it. And for what the level I was at as a sophomore in high school, I just put so much time and energy into this piece, and it looks like very good, and I'm very impressed with it. And I wish I had put that amount of energy into more watercolor pieces at that time, but that's kind of one of my strongest moments with watercolor that I had in high school. So yeah, it's one of my favorite things. It's hanging up by my parents' room. But yeah, in general, I tend to take a lot of reference pictures when I travel with the intent of using them to make art. And I also didn't mention before, sorry, I'm jumping around, but that QS bug, if it wasn't clear, there was like a beetle, like the car Volkswagen. It was this cute blue bug in front of this beach house with palm trees and a lot of other tropical plants. It was cute. Anyway, so like that picture that I took to reference the bug in the beach house, I take a lot of reference pictures when I travel with the intent of using them to make art. But the thing is, I almost never do. And so with the Draw Pod, I'm absolutely taking advantage of this podcast to make art from these pictures and kind of actually, really reflect on my memories from then. So the drawing I'm working on today, or the painting I'm working on today, is from my more recent trip to Key West this past January 2020. I went with my mom and had a fabulous time. It was nice to get that trip in before, everything closed in March. But we explored art galleries. We also looked at this cool historical and art museum. We ate some delicious food, and we went to the beach, and we used bikes to get around for the most part everywhere. It was really nice. And really great to go in the middle of the winter in January, and it was nice and warm, but very pleasant. So, here's a fun fact about Key West. So there's a pretty strong, it seems like, art community, although a lot of the art is kind of geared around that, kind of touristy tropical art that, you've got people visiting Key West, they're going to buy stuff, take it back with them. But, so there's a cool art community, but also it has attracted a lot of writers over the years. There is a longer list than this, but these are just 3 that stood out to me that I wanted to share with you that might be interesting. So Ernest Hemingway, he had a house in Key West, and while I've never been able to actually go in and visit it, it just never happened in my time that I've spent in Key West. But at the Hemingway house, they have 6-toed cats since, I guess, they had a few, how like genetic breeding kind of goes, like they're all stuck on this island. Some cats develop 6 toes, and then that just kind of became a dominant gene characteristic. I don't know any of this genetics, but basically there are a lot of 6-toed cats on Key West. So that's very interesting. Another writer here was Tennessee Williams. He also was an artist as well, and I got to see some of his art in the museum at the History and Art Museum in Key West. So that was really cool. I didn't know about that. And the last writer I wanted to mention is Judy Blume. You may know her from books like Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, a classic. She has a bunch of other great books, but I literally saw her. She's still alive. I literally saw her in a bookstore, and she was there. She was working there. So that was pretty crazy. My mom and I walked in. We were kind of looking around. It was a really cute bookstore that we wanted to stop into, and this was our last day. And my mom looks around, and she kind of nudges me, and she's like, Elyse, I think that's Judy Blume. And I'm like, what? And it totally was. We didn't talk to her or anything, but she kind of smiled at us and said hello, and we entered and everything. Anyway, that was super cool to me to get to meet her, sort of, or be in the same place as her. So that was really neat. So another thing that I loved about my time in Key West was the food. I had several like kind of glasses of like Cuban coffee, which is so delicious. I don't know if there's like a specific name for it, but I'm pretty sure it's just like espresso and like condensed milk. And it reminded me a lot of the café con leche that I had in Spain. Again, I don't know all the names for coffee things because I don't really drink a lot of coffee anymore, but I did drink a lot of coffee there, and it was so delicious and sweet. And so that was something that stood out to me and something I had pretty much every day. The espresso was amazing. And then also another Cuban thing was I had a Cuban sandwich a lot whenever I was there. Just delightful, delicious. And so a Cuban sandwich is kind of a variation of like a ham and cheese. If you don't know what this is, if you do, sorry, but I'm gonna explain it. But it's kind of got like pork and Swiss cheese and a pickle on it, which I'm not much of a pickle person, but just the combo was absolutely excellent. So I really enjoyed that a lot. And then, I was kind of making a list of like all the food that I enjoyed, but I really just had a lot of sandwiches, a lot of coffee, and I did have have some really good Italian food at this one place, but that's really all I can remember. I love sandwiches. What can I say? And then I snacked on a lot of chips while I was there. It was great. But overall, just kind of reflecting on Key West and my time that I've spent there. I loved it so much. I think it's a great place to visit, but I'm not sure if I would want to live there unless I was like doing an artist residency, which would be so cool. Or if I was like a well-known artist who could just afford to live at the beach and paint all day, but I don't know if that'll happen in like the next 30 years or something. It seems like a later in life thing, but I really love, I just love being there, and I would love to spend kind of a more extended amount of time there if I could. But I really love the other keys as well, and I think that if you have the chance, you should definitely check them out. And one of my like all-time goals is to, on my bucket list, is to road trip down the Keys and up the Keys and just kind of probably like start in Miami, and kind of explore. I want to like see more about like the Art Deco in Miami and have a lot of the food there and explore it. I would love to do that, and then head down the Keys and just see what they have to offer. It's a pretty like narrow, small highway, pretty much just like one lane on either side. But yeah, it sounds really fun. Probably would take a long time. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Draw Pod. I hope you enjoyed it. This was really fun for me to paint and to record this podcast and reflect on my memories from when I was in Key West. So yeah, make sure to leave a rating if you enjoyed this podcast, if you're listening on the Apple Podcasts, or like this video on YouTube, or yeah, leave a comment, let me know, all that stuff. And remember to check out the final piece on my art Instagram at Elyse_draws. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.